Thank you for staying with us, everyone. It's a daily edition of Politics Today here on Channels Television, the nation's news leader. Well, of course, you can be part of the conversation that we are having on the program tonight. We're looking at INEC as it's currently composed of 6 national commissioners and a chairman. Is it properly legally composed? Well, we're looking at that, and Mr. Oluwole Zazi-Uzi is the Director of Voter Education and Publicity at INEC, and a lawyer, a legal practitioner, of course, here, Mr. Ikechukwu Ikeji. He has been talking to us on the program. Or you also can talk, and let's have your opinions right here on the program. And well, the hashtag is hashtag Politics Today if you're tweeting at us, and the handles at CTV Politics and at Sheon Walking. But let's get started again with the conversation that we are having. Not only the issue of the composition of the board of INEC, but tell me, why are we not going to, when do you think we could have a complete appointment at INEC of the national commissioners? Because we understand sometimes that these national commissioners, they take charge of some states and they supervise the activities in those states. So how have you been able to organize without the full composition of the board?
Well, we've done so quite well because you know that the board as presently constituted has one representative from each of the geopolitical zones, and each person supervises that zone from which he comes from or she comes from, except their own home state. These are not legal things, these are just conventions. This issue of supervision are conventions. The committees are working and the national commissioners are supervising their zones. And don't forget that before INEC was constituted in 1998, I beg your pardon, most of the previous commissions had 6 national commissioners and carried out their duties.
All right. Do you see any time that we'll probably have a full appointment of this commission? Are you hearing anything perhaps from the presidency, for example?
No, I'm personally not aware of anything being said, but the ideal situation is if you appoint the full complement. But then again, it's also good to stagger these appointments such that what happened after Professor Jiga left in June 2015 will not reoccur, such that you have this problem or challenge of the commission being more or less empty, as some people say. So that if it's staggered, then at any given time there will be a quorum, as it were.
All right, let me bring this issue to the fore again. Of course, I'll allow Mr. Ikeji to weigh in on this matter. Well, it's been brought onto the table. Some of your resident electoral commissioner, the resident electoral commissioners are in charge of the INEC in the states. Of course, we have 36 states plus the FCT Abuja. Okay, and if you take a look at this list I'm going to show you in a moment, it will show you some of the resident electoral commissioners, the appointment, the date of their appointment, and the proposed expiration of the appointments. And there are talks that perhaps some of them are overstaying their appointments. For example, if you look at the list up there, the number 1 there is Hussaini Ali Lopai, who is from the FCT and is currently the rec of Kogi State. And if you look at Dr. Kwanga Godwin and Mr. Akinyemi Orebi, who is from Ogun State and is a rec of Lagos State, all of them got appointment letters, appointment letter dated 16 December 2010, and they're supposed to have the expiration date of 16th December. But we understand that they're still in office. This is January the 25th, 2016. What do you make of that?
What do I make of that? It's what the law makes of that is important, not what Mr. Uzi makes of it. The tenure of resident electoral commissioners is governed by the Electoral Act, not by the Constitution, but by the Electoral Act. And Section 6B of that Act says that a rec shall hold office for a period of 5 years. The operative was it shall hold office. So the operative thing there, when do you begin to hold your office? Obviously, when you begin to perform your functions, and you do not perform your functions unless and until you're cleared by the Senate and you have started, you've taken your oath of office and declared your assets according to the code of conduct. So these people, yes, were appointed in this manner of speaking on the 16th of December, but they were not sworn in until February, 24th of February 2011. And they assumed office on the 28th of February. So their tenure, in accordance with the Electoral Act, starts to run from the day they assume office. And they assume office for 5 years. The tenure is 5 years, statutorily spelled out.
All right,
And you cannot remove them from office unless they go voluntarily or you go in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act and the Constitution.
Mr.
And that is the President acting on an address by 2/3 of members of the Senate.
All right, interesting. Do you agree with his position on that?
Well, I think with due respect to Mr. Uzi, you wouldn't expect anything less than to defend INEC and what is going on within INEC. But for us, that we are watching from the sidelines as lawyers, we have different opinions, we have different views. For one, appointment in itself by definition is appointment. You are not appointed until Senate has, the President has given you an appointment and Senate has sat on your case. Now, it is presumed, because he leaves it hanging, he wants us to believe that you will get appointment letter on the 16th, for example, and you will wait till probably next June, 6 months down the line, before you start working. But when did they start collecting salaries? When was the appointment letter? When was it meant to take effect? That is the question that he has to answer. But permit me to just take a few steps backwards to address the issue that he had raised earlier on with regards to quorum and all that. You see, INEC cannot have partial composition of a board, of its board. There will always be full composition. Where there are incidences, actions, or what you may call act of God that will result in vacancies occurring, we will understand, but not where it is act of human beings. As you can see, what is happening in INEC now is a deliberate act on the part of the government to stagger the appointments. There's nowhere it is found in the law that you must appoint national officers or INEC officers on a staggered appointment basis. They are to be composed of 12 and 1, the chairman. Now, if you have composed them, if you have fully constituted them, and an act of God happens, and that person is by chance, by virtue of that act of God, or operation of law, or something that is beyond human planning, the person becomes absent or unable to perform his functions, then you can admit of that is what section 159 is referring to. That is, if you have to interpret section 159 outside of the provision, or rather, outside of the decision of the court in AC party against Professor Morrissey. Now, he also spoke about the decision in Professor Morrissey's case. In that case, the Federal High Court Justice Liman clearly stated that you must first of all have due composition. And that due composition is 13, and it is from that due composition that you will calculate the quorum. Again, that case also made reference to the case of Diapalong and Dari, a Supreme Court decision in 2007, where the Supreme Court held that there must be 2/3 of all membership of the House of Assembly for it to validly carry out any function, irrespective of vacancies there. So, yes, vacancies may exist, but that does not mean that it cannot do its work. It will do its work, but it must ensure that that quorum is hard, bearing reference to 13. Now, if you talk about 7 being bigger than 5, you are now assuming, for example, that if one of the 7 goes ill, so to speak, goes sick, or 2 of them go sick, then you are now going to start looking for how you form a quorum out of 7.
So
and by no stretch of imagination,
yes. There are some of the things that you have pointed out. In your opinion, what are the things that you think INEC should do to correct these anomalies from your point of view?
It's an easy thing. Vacancies are existing. Fill in the vacancies immediately.
Because some of the issues, for example, maybe I should put these to Mr. Osazuzi. Tell us, because a lot of talks about controversy and debate about the acting capacity, where we had Elijah Amina Zakari acting as a national chairman at that time. There are a lot of issues. We have this issue over and over again. What do you think that should be done right now? Because, of course, eyes are on INEC, because it's at the center of our democracy.
Just before answering, let me put things in perspective. First of all, Section 318 of the Constitution gives the power of an appointing authority, in this case the president, to appoint a person on a temporary or acting basis. Once the person has the authority or power to appoint on a substantive capacity, he has the power to appoint in an acting capacity. But be that as it may, let us not lose sight of the fact that it is not INEC that makes appointments into the composition of its board. INEC does not appoint the commission. The appointing authority is the president, following the procedure, consultation with the Council of State, and then confirmation by the Senate. It is only when they have done this that they come to the commission and become members of the commission. It has absolutely nothing to do with INEC. INEC can ask or request that the president exercise his powers conferred on him by the Constitution. So it's not a question of defending INEC. It's a question of let the approving authority and the appointing authority do what they have to do.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of the program. Of course, we are Channels Television. We are very keen on a solid democratic process for Nigeria, because we know that a better society that we have, better life for every Nigerian. Of course, that's why we're putting the spotlight on INEC that steers the affairs of our electoral process. Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwole Osazuzi, for talking to us. We will get you more to talk to us every time that we have the opportunity to talk about INEC issues. And of course, Mr. Ikeji, thank you so much for making time out here. And every one of you, wherever you are watching us, Politics Today Daily continues tomorrow. On behalf of the team here at Channels Television Headquarters in Lagos, I'm Seun Wakimale. Bye for now.